Once upon a time in 1997, a young rural boy embarked on an adventure with his friends, portraying the role of an ex-soldier, now a soldier for hire, and the employee of eco-terrorist Avalanche. Our mission? Bomb Mako Reactor Number 1. It was alleged to be like a tick sucking the world dry. Turns out it wasn't just some empty act of terrorism, as the threat to our planet became very real very quickly. I didn't know that day would change my life as a gamer forever. 23 years later, Final Fantasy VII remains etched in the hearts of those who played it on their PlayStation 1. It was the first in the franchise to make the leap to 3D graphics, feature fully rendered CGI cutscenes, and span multiple discs of data that would push Sony's flagship console to its limits. It built upon the franchise's active time battle system and even created shareable skills through their highly innovative materia system. Its palpable characters and gripping narrative are iconic in gaming history, so much that even the back of the jewel case featured a quote from GameFan magazine, quite possibly the greatest game ever made. That's a statement rarely challenged to this day. So it should serve as a surprise to none that the first episode in its remake sought to topple that claim. While it is a remake of the original greatest game ever made, it's merely only a greatly expanded early chapter of the original story. It's kind of like the extended edition of Fellowship of the Ring, even if you knew Lord of the Rings was once a single epic entry. Standing firm with the current critic average of 88 and an 8.0 user score average on Metacritic, it falls just a bit shy of meeting the original gold standard. But let's remember that this is only a single entry in a planned episodic series. For my part, the game doesn't quite earn the perfect scores that it did on some sites. I'm looking at you, GameSpot. But neither did the original game. The remake, however, actually comes a bit closer to that 10/10 than OG Final Fantasy VII. Why? Well, first off, Square Enix and Tetsuya Nomura proved me wrong. Very wrong. Like many fans, I was pretty skeptical of the potential of the episodic formula the team sought to execute in an effort to greatly expand the lore of the entire Final Fantasy VII saga, you might call it. Yet right from the start of the very first chapter, I somehow felt more intrigued after having heard Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse's voices for the first time. Their absence from the Advent Children film meant we really only had Barrett and Tifa for our Avalanche references. So, fast forward through a few side quests, a detour atop the plate, and a heist from a Shinra warehouse, and events transpired that made those characters matter in ways that were otherwise impossible in the PS1 version.
Give it back!
That's...
Give it back.
That's not a key.
Sorry.
That's not your pendant either. Were they family?
No.
It was all just a dream, wasn't it? But one day, no. Time to wake up and forget.
"6 months ago. On that day, Corneo picked her as a bride, and on the next, she vanished without a trace. But before she did, she gave it back. Salt on the wound. Thing cost me a small fortune.
Why did you want to come down here?
Revenge. I know I need to let go, but I can't. I need closure, because without it, I'll never be able to move on.
It's fine. As long as you get us topside, we're still in.
Thanks. And don't worry. I got you.
You all right?
As a matter of fact, many incidental characters you meet throughout the Midgar campaign have had their stories and/or presentations greatly expanded to essentially get you to care more about them. Beholding even your favorite moments from the original game, now fully voiced and fully captured, is as charming as it is entertaining. It's as if Square sought to recreate an Advent Children experience in video game form. Mission accomplished. Congratulations on a job well done. So the gameplay overall is best described as Kingdom Hearts on Red Bull infused crack cocaine, but that's not a bad thing. If anything, the innate desire of the common gamer to dive right into a game on the normal difficulty lends itself to the few problems this game actually has. There are times during combat where the camera can get a little out of control with its collision detection, and the combat difficulty from boss to boss can be a little inconsistent without the context of what you're meant to face. It suffers from the same flaw that the original game did, and that you might be ill-equipped to face that challenge, and you may be forced to eat a restart in order to better equip your party with materia, gear, whatever. But let's just say this, unlike the original game, if you have the option to restart at a point just before the battle, rather than restarting on a hope and a prayer that you save the game at a predetermined save point just prior to that fight, that's a good thing, right? The game is designed in such a way that the fights evolve with the materia you were expected to acquire along the way, as well as how much you have evolved your weapons and gear, and overcoming those challenges often feel more rewarding than they are frustrating. The game's remastered soundtrack is a delight on the ears. 3-phase remixes of familiar combat themes pump through your speakers with equal familiarity and freneticism, and some of the more melodic themes have been retuned to carry greater gravitas than they did 2 decades ago. The game is also a visual treat that shines even during the most hectic of battles, and the summons on display in this chapter are among some of the most awesome things you will ever see in an RPG. So from start to finish, this one entry in a planned series of many is as close to a pure masterpiece as you can get. Its innumerable charms elicit smiles, laughter, tears, and even tangible anger at every turn of this game's riveting narrative. If Final Fantasy VII is now a trilogy and Midgar is Episode 1, then this retelling of one of the greatest games ever made is a bold step in the right direction on how to remake and remaster a game that once defined instant classic, as it does so once again. It's full of nostalgia for fans of the classic, but there's no better way to introduce new players to this world than Final Fantasy VII Remake. This has been Outlaw Lotus with another game review. Keep quick drawing and slag drawing.